How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Brian Anderson, the executive editor, along with...
I'm Alex Porro, the sports desk editor.
And this is our first ever video podcast for the review. Today, we are about a week removed from the NFL draft, and I'm a Giant fan.
I'm an Eagles fan.
So we will be discussing what we think will happen this year in the NFC East, and just kind of our feeling for the team. How about you start off, Alex?
Well, I guess I'll start off with the Eagles. I thought they had a very nice draft. Wasn't crazy about it at first. Thought they drafted some players maybe they already had on their team. Similar skill sets with Macklin and Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy and Westbrook had sort of the same skill sets. But really, when you look at the way they worked the draft, it was really interesting. I read something yesterday about this. About how they really gained a lot in next year's draft in terms of draft picks and value, and didn't really give up much for it. Just traded the picks they already had to move down. And they also picked up cornerback Ellis Hobbs from the Patriots for 2 fifth-round picks, which really, he was a starting cornerback in the Super Bowl. You really can't beat that.
Yeah, right. And you mentioned how you got players this year that you kind of already had, but that's kind of a good thing in case one goes down.
Exactly.
You got someone to fill in that's not going to be too different.
Yeah, you didn't pick up too many different skill sets in the draft, but you did get some valuable replacements. Guys like Westbrook are always going to have injury problems. I'll say they're going to have issues with their knees, with just getting banged up in the day-to-day grind of the NFL. So it's nice to have somebody behind him who can do what he does, so that you don't have to necessarily switch philosophies.
Exactly.
Your NFL
Vaughn doesn't have to switch blocking philosophies midway through the year.
Exactly.
I actually think it works really well for the Eagles.
I think it does too, and I like Macklin. So some of the rumors actually had the Giants trading up from at 20, which makes sense because I was wondering why the Eagles traded up from 21 to 19 to get him, because I didn't think that the Detroit Lions needed a receiver. But actually, that makes a little bit of sense now. It's going to be hard for any team to cover that much speed on the field if they can get both those guys, Jackson and Macklin, on the field at the same time, as well as Curtis too.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best receiver on the team, but definitely a good possession guy, or not a possession guy, good slot receiver.
Definitely. I'll start with the Giants. I thought going into the draft they were pretty deep. They didn't need a huge amount of holes. Probably the wide receiver position was the only real hole they need to fill.
Mm-hmm.
They got two guys in Hakeem Nicks and Ramses Barden, who I think can at least contribute from day one. They probably won't be starters, but Tom Coughlin can mix them in, which I think is what you need to do with rookie wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, Deshaun Jackson had a great year last year.
That was sort of an anomaly.
Yeah.
Because you don't expect a rookie wide receiver to come in and learn the system, especially not like a West Coast offense right away.
So, but I think they got a lot of depth there. They just added depth, tight end depth, cornerback depth, offensive line depth. I thought they really did well for themselves. They're already a deep team. They were a young team. I think they just added a bunch of players that kept on the young, athletic, deep, versatile mindset that they've been going with in the past few years.
The Giants, they always run a well put together organization, if that makes any sense. They may have lost a guy in Ahmad Bradshaw.
Derek Ward.
It was Derek Ward to Tampa Bay. But they're drafting guys to fill in for him to pick up this, whatever slack's left by that. I got a question for you. How well do you think Barden and Nicks will be able to fill in for Plaxico Burress?
I don't think right away they're going to need to be fill in. I think the Giants have Mario Manningham. They got Dominic Hickson. They got Steve Smith. So that's a good 1 through 3 wide receiving core. And then I think a great thing about the Giants is they don't need those guys to step in and start right away.
Right.
So they can work them in on the goal line. Certain situations, certain packages.
Barden's going to be a nightmare at the goal line.
Exactly, which is nice. So he can learn the playbook gradually instead of being thrown into it and expected to contribute from day one, because I really don't think he will. He's coming out of a Cal Poly school that isn't exactly a football powerhouse.
You got to wonder about the level of competition at Cal Poly, but he's also 6'6"?
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting prospect. But I thought both teams really worked the draft very well. Got the players that they were looking for, got value at their picks, and didn't seem they more dictated the draft. Dictated what happened. They were the power players in the draft rather than letting some other team come to them and say, "Here, would you like this pick for this player?" They sort of went after what they wanted.
Exactly.
I thought both teams did a really nice job.
What do you think happens in the NFC East this year?
Well, that's not always the question.
Yeah.
I got to think the Giants and Eagles will come out as the top two teams. How that shakes out, I won't know. It'll depend. I'm guessing on injuries. How some of the new players perform, how guys like Jason Peters perform for the Eagles.
Guys like Eli Manning for the Giants.
Exactly. I mean, Eli Manning's starting to come along, but he's also got some new weapons to work in.
Yeah.
How they're going to deal with the loss of Burris, who was who was a valuable piece when he was
Especially against the Eagles. He
Eagles,
destroyed the Eagles.
He did.
Times.
The Eagles just didn't. They had problems with his height. He was fast too. He had and good hands. He was a really good receiver if he could have kept his head straight. And a gun out of his pants. But
what can you do?
Such is the way things roll, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the way the NFC East shakes out. Like I said, I think the Eagles and the Giants will fight out for the top 2 spots. I think I could honestly see them both making the playoffs, like last year.
Yeah, I could too.
The Cowboys, maybe if they can find a little bit of consistency, but that's going to take some time. Especially they're going to have to find a weapon to replace T.O. I don't know if Roy Williams is that guy. I think the Detroit Lions thought he would be that guy, and I don't think he ever quite
I think
panned out.
the Cowboys thought he would be that guy.
They thought they were going to put him opposite of Owens, and that he would be a dynamic force, and
fizzled out, basically.
Yeah, I think he's the type.
Put it in a nice way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's the type of receiver where if you don't involve him in the game plan, he starts to lose interest, maybe, or maybe not run his routes as far as he should or as hard as he should, which will help. I mean, he'll be the number 1 wide receiver for the Cowboys, but at the same time, he's also got to deal with Marion Barber and Felix Jones in the backfield. Jason Witten, the tight end. I mean, how's he going to deal with that? Owens couldn't even deal with that. So there will be more targets for him, but he'll also be getting extra coverage. The safety will probably be shaded over toward Williams, so it'll be interesting to see how he does with that. Redskins.
I'll take the Redskins.
Yeah,
I think the Redskins have a really good back 7. I still question their front 4 on the defensive end.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Arakpo is
they're good. I think he's got a real nice shot. I've heard he's going to start at outside linebacker. It doesn't help their defensive end depth.
It doesn't. It makes their linebacking core even more dangerous.
But at the same time, that defensive line is only getting older. They don't have any future, those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you're really looking at an old group, and I don't think they re-signed Jason Taylor, but still, you got to wonder how they're going to replace some of those guys on the defensive side. But they're always a dangerous team. They always have good defense, and they're like you said, their back 7 are just. I mean, guys like LaRon Landry are just demons back there.
Yeah, and they're well coached on the defensive end.
Oh yeah,
they'll be good on defense. The offense, another story. I think they have really good potential. Question is does Jason Campbell get it in his own second year?
See, that's an interesting question.
Do the wide receivers that they brought in last year get it? Does
Devin
the offensive
Thomas
line stick it? They got a lot of question marks. I think the most question marks in the NFC East, which is why I think they're their 4th best team.
Yeah, you got to wonder about a team like that, just because. Do they even have a quarterback who wants to be there? They were trying to trade for Jay Cutler. Then they were talking about moving up for Mark Sanchez in the draft. You got to wonder how much faith they have in Jason Campbell, and you have to wonder how much faith he has in an organization that doesn't seem to value him so highly. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting situation. Of course, they've got Clinton Portis if he can stay healthy for a full season. But that quarterback situation, I'm always critical of teams that don't go into the season with a number 1 quarterback. And I know that's not always the easiest thing in the world to procure, but you got to have your guy.
Yeah, and he showed a lot of good stuff in this league, and then a lot of really bad stuff.
Yeah, he was very inconsistent. I mean, he's been one of those guys you've been waiting to bust out for a few years, and he just never seems to.
You think he will. There's a point where you're like, it's coming. It
doesn't seem like the Redskins ever score a lot of points. I mean, they have a great ground game with Portis. When he's healthy, he's one of the better backs in the league. But again, a guy with some injury histories.
Getting old there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's no spring chicken, and running back shelf life isn't that high anyway. So. Yeah. You got to wonder about that. And then, like I said, just the situation with Campbell. I mean, he's got to work with his receivers, but how does he get comfortable knowing that he might not even be there in the league?
I think the major difference between the Eagles and the Giants and the Cowboys and the Redskins, the Eagles and the Giants have a lot of depth everywhere, well coached, and they kind of know what they're going into in the season.
Yeah.
Where the Cowboys and the Redskins, they got some of the pieces, but they need to
They're not quite there. Yeah. I mean, you have to look at the organization there. Giants GM Jerry Reese he's done a phenomenal job building that team through the draft and through trades. He's gotten the guy again. You get the guys you want that work for your system. Their defensive line and the rotation on the Giants' defensive line is just probably tops in the league. And I think the Eagles have done a really nice job of creating a great young, hungry defense. They've obviously gotten rid of some guys that I would have liked to see stay. Maybe Dawkins. A guy that's been there forever. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge that these people made a players may have lost a step.
Yeah.
They're bringing in young guys, and we'll see how it works out. But I really think they're headed in a good direction. They're well coached, and they've got great talent on offense now.
Yeah, definitely.
So it'll be interesting to see how it
You
shakes
got
out.
the Eagles winning the East?
I do.
I'll take the Giants.
That's the way it's got to shake
You
out.
know, I guess that's the first. Anything other comments, or we good?
I think we're good for today.
All right, excellent. That was the first video podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll probably be back next week for another one. Thanks, guys.
Tune in next time.
Yep.